What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, you might be suspended in the most powerful state in the universe? A place where infinite possibilities exist simultaneously, where your next reality is being assembled in ways your conscious mind cannot yet comprehend. This is the quantum void, and if certain strange things have been happening in your life lately, you might already be there. Have you noticed that conversations feel different? Like you're speaking a language that no longer quite fits your mouth? Or maybe your old routines have started feeling like costumes from a play you no longer want to perform in. Perhaps the goals that once excited you now feel distant, almost irrelevant, as if they belong to someone else entirely. Most people panic when this happens. They think something is broken. They scramble to fix what feels empty, to reignite what has grown cold. But what if I told you this emptiness isn't a problem to be solved? What if it's actually the most promising sign that your reality is about to completely transform? Welcome to the quantum void, the space between timelines where your old self dissolves and your new self crystallizes into being. And by the end of this video, you'll understand not only how to recognize if you're in it, but how to navigate it with such precision that your quantum leap becomes inevitable. The quantum void isn't empty space, it's pregnant space. Think of it as the universe's loading screen, where all the programming for your next reality is being written in real time. In quantum physics, we have a concept called superposition, where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observation collapses them into a single reality. Right now, you might be in your own superposition, existing in multiple potential timelines at once, and this strange sensation you're feeling is your consciousness flickering between them. The reason this feels so disorienting is because your brain is designed for linear reality. It expects cause and effect, step-by-step progression, clear signs of movement. But the quantum field operates on entirely different principles. It responds to frequency, to vibrational coherence, to the energetic signature you're broadcasting into the field. And when you're in the void, that signature is being completely recalibrated. Imagine your current life as a radio that's been tuned to the same station for years. Suddenly, the signal starts to fade. The music becomes unclear. The voices sound distant. Your first instinct might be to bang on the radio, to try to restore the old signal. But what if the static isn't a malfunction? What if your radio is automatically scanning for a better frequency, one that will deliver the content you've actually been asking for? This is what the quantum void feels like from the inside. The old signal is weakening because your consciousness is upgrading to receive something entirely new. But during the transition period, you might feel like you're caught between stations, hearing fragments of both, but locked into neither. Here's what most people don't realize about the void. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Your nervous system is literally rewiring itself to handle the frequency of your desired reality. Neuroscience tells us that the brain needs periods of apparent inactivity to form new neural pathways. What feels like stagnation is actually the most dynamic reconstruction happening at the cellular level. You might have noticed that certain relationships feel strained lately, not because there's conflict, but because you're vibrating at different frequencies now. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel forced. Activities that once brought joy feel hollow. This isn't depression or apathy, this is frequency mismatch. You're no longer compatible with the energetic environment you used to call home. In the void, you're being prepared to receive experiences, people, and opportunities that exist at a higher vibrational frequency. But first, the old energetic contracts must be dissolved. The beliefs, patterns, and attachments that kept you anchored to your previous timeline are systematically being released. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a deep-sea diver who has been living at the ocean floor for years. When it's time to surface, you can't just rocket upward. The pressure change would destroy you. You need decompression stops, periods where you pause and allow your body to adjust to the new environment. The void is your decompression chamber between timelines. This is why patience during this phase is not passive, it's actively quantum. Every moment you resist the emptiness, you create static in your signal. Every moment you trust the process, you amplify the frequency that's calling in your new reality. The void is testing your faith not in some external God, but in the intelligence of your own consciousness to orchestrate the transformation you've been requesting. Now let me tell you about the emotional roller coaster that often accompanies the void. One day you're buzzing with excitement, absolutely certain that magic is about to unfold. The next day, doubt creeps in like fog, making you question whether anything is really changing at all. This isn't emotional instability. This is the signature of a consciousness existing in multiple timelines simultaneously. Your emotions are flickering between the old reality where nothing has changed and the new reality where everything already has. In quantum mechanics, this is called quantum decoherence, the process by which a quantum system transitions from a superposition of states to a single definite state. Your excitement corresponds to moments when your consciousness aligns with the new timeline. Your doubt corresponds to moments when it drifts back toward the old one. The stronger the oscillation between these emotional states, the closer you are to a complete collapse into your chosen reality. Most people interpret this emotional intensity as proof they're failing. They think if I was really close to my breakthrough, I wouldn't feel this much uncertainty. But that's like thinking turbulence means the airplane isn't flying. Turbulence means you're moving through different atmospheric layers that require adjustment. Your emotions are adjusting to an altitude of consciousness you've never flown at before. The key is learning to ride these emotional currents instead of gripping the armrest in panic. When excitement arises, don't cling to it as the only proof you're on track. When doubt surfaces, don't treat it as a warning to turn back. Both are simply weather patterns moving through the void as your reality reorganizes itself. Here's a powerful reframe that changes everything. Instead of seeing your emotions as indicators of whether you're succeeding or failing, see them as energy signatures telling you which timeline your focus is tuned to in this moment. Joy and excitement are the frequency of your desired reality broadcasting through. Doubt and fear are the old timeline trying to reassert itself. Neither is right or wrong. They're simply information about where your attention is in this moment. If you react to them as obstacles, you reinforce the oscillation. If you observe them as temporary weather patterns, you begin to stabilize your signal toward the reality you actually want. From a spiritual perspective, this emotional amplification is a form of initiation. The universe is essentially asking, can you hold your frequency steady even while the winds of change swirl around you? Because the timeline you're stepping into will also bring new experiences, challenges, and unknowns. Your capacity to remain coherent now prepares you to thrive later. But here's where things get really interesting. Right before a quantum jump, you often encounter what I call the final examination. This isn't the universe testing whether you're worthy. It's your own subconscious running a final diagnostic, surfacing the last fragments of your old identity so you can choose consciously to release them. You might suddenly find yourself facing the same kinds of challenges you thought you'd outgrown. A conversation that pushes your buttons in exactly the same way an old relationship did. A money situation that triggers the same scarcity panic you felt years ago. A wave of self-doubt that sounds eerily familiar. These moments aren't setbacks. They're mirrors reflecting back the frequency you used to inhabit, giving you one final opportunity to choose a different response. Every time you react from your old patterns, you strengthen those neural pathways. Every time you choose a higher frequency response, you collapse the probability wave of your former self. This is why challenges that arise right before a shift feel so charged. They represent the final superposition between who you were and who you're becoming. Your response in these moments doesn't just demonstrate your readiness for the new timeline. It literally creates the vibrational lock that secures your place in it. The danger here is misinterpretation. Many people see these resurfacing challenges as proof they're moving backward. They think if I'm still attracting this kind of situation, I must not have changed at all. But the reality is quite the opposite. The very appearance of these scenarios means you've shifted enough for them to be flushed out of your energetic field. You can't clear what you haven't yet outgrown. The fact that you're even aware these patterns are surfacing, the fact that you're asking yourself how to respond differently, is the strongest signal that you're almost through the void. Think of it like a final simulation in a flight training program. Pilots practice emergency scenarios not because emergencies are guaranteed, but so that if they happen in real life, the pilot already knows exactly how to maintain control. These final tests before your quantum jump are your simulation runs, giving you opportunities to embody your new frequency under conditions that would have once knocked you completely off balance. Here's what I want you to understand about the moment of arrival. It rarely comes with fanfare. In movies, transformation is dramatic. Fireworks, swelling orchestras, a before and after so obvious you can't miss it. But real quantum leaps often arrive quietly, almost anticlimactically. One morning you wake up and notice the anxiety that plagued you for months simply isn't there anymore. A situation that would have triggered you last week now leaves you completely unmoved. The obsessive thoughts about your problems have been replaced by a strange, calm knowing that everything is working out exactly as it should. The shift doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It just becomes who you are. And because it feels so natural, your mind might even try to diminish it, thinking, was that really it? This is where understanding quantum mechanics becomes crucial. When an electron jumps to a higher energy level, it happens instantaneously. There's no gradual climb, no visible struggle. One moment it exists in one state, the next it exists in another. That's exactly how timeline shifts occur. The arrival isn't about drama, it's about resonance. The old frequency drops away so completely that it becomes difficult to remember why it ever felt like home. From a neurological perspective, your brain has stopped firing the old circuits and has begun solidifying the new ones. You no longer have to consciously try to think differently. The new patterns have become your default. This is why so many people miss the moment of their breakthrough. It feels like breathing. And that's precisely the point. The version of you that lives in your desired reality doesn't experience it as a constant miracle. They experience it as normal life. There's a deep peace in this integration phase, a sense that you've stopped chasing and started inhabiting. Ironically, it's often when you stop looking for signs of change that you begin noticing them everywhere. Unexpected opportunities appear. The right people cross your path at precisely the right moments. Synchronicities stack up like breadcrumbs leading you forward into expanded possibilities. The temptation at this stage is to go back to old habits of forcing, visualizing intensely, or second-guessing because your mind thinks manifestation should feel more dramatic. But drama belongs to the old timeline where you had to push against resistance. The new timeline operates on flow, on trust, on the understanding that quiet shifts are often the most permanent because they happen at the level of identity. This is the moment to lean fully into embodiment. Instead of asking, did it work, you start asking, how do I live fully as this version of myself? Every choice becomes an expression of alignment rather than a desperate attempt to create change. And that's when the quantum field responds with even greater coherence, weaving possibilities into your life with an ease that feels almost effortless. So if you've been expecting your leap to feel like an explosion, pay attention to the subtle shifts instead. The quiet mornings where you feel inexplicably lighter, the conversations that flow without the old tension, the sudden clarity about decisions that used to paralyze you with indecision. These are the hallmarks of successful quantum navigation. You haven't just survived the void, you've mastered it. And now you're discovering what it means to live in harmony with the quantum field rather than fighting against it. Here's what I need you to understand right now. If you've resonated with this message, if these words have felt like recognition rather than new information, it's not coincidence. You're hearing this because you've already been tuning into the frequency of your expanded timeline. This isn't about getting there anymore. You are there. Now it's about stabilizing, integrating, and expanding from this new foundation. The leap you've experienced is only the beginning. The quantum field responds most powerfully, not to desperate desire, but to coherent embodiment. You've just proven to yourself that you can maintain that coherence long enough to collapse an entirely new reality around you. Your task now is to make this frequency your permanent residence. No more slipping back into old patterns when life gets quiet. No more testing the universe to see if it's still working. It's about anchoring yourself so deeply in this new identity that it becomes unshakable, regardless of what temporary circumstances might suggest. Remember, you're not here to force your life into alignment. You're here to align with the reality that already holds everything you've been seeking, and then watch it unfold with a naturalness that feels almost magical. That's the true power of quantum consciousness. The void wasn't empty space you had to endure. It was pregnant space where your new reality was being assembled. Every moment of uncertainty was actually your consciousness expanding to accommodate possibilities you couldn't have imagined from your previous vantage point. You've completed the most challenging part of the journey. You've learned to trust the process, even when you couldn't see the destination. You've maintained your frequency, even while reality seemed to dissolve around you. That kind of quantum faith is what transforms you from someone who experiences occasional manifestations to someone who lives in permanent alignment with the field of infinite possibilities. So take a moment to acknowledge what you've accomplished. You've navigated the void with the skill of a quantum master. You've emerged not just with a new set of circumstances, but with a fundamentally expanded capacity to create reality itself. The person who entered the void and the person who emerged from it are not the same being. You've literally become a more advanced version of yourself, and this is just the beginning. Now that you understand how to work with the quantum field instead of against it, every day becomes an opportunity to explore new possibilities, to expand into even greater expressions of who you're becoming. The void taught you that emptiness is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything in potential form. Silence is not the lack of sound, but the space where all sounds are born. Stillness is not the opposite of movement, but the source from which all movement emerges. You've learned to find power in the pause, wisdom in the waiting, and infinite possibility in the space between thoughts. These are the skills of a quantum navigator, someone who can consciously participate in the creation of reality rather than simply reacting to it. As you continue forward, remember that mastery isn't about never entering the void again. It's about recognizing it immediately when you do, trusting the process completely, and using it as rocket fuel for your next level of expansion. Each time you successfully navigate these transition periods, your capacity for quantum leaping increases exponentially. You're no longer someone who hopes for change. You're someone who consciously creates it by aligning with the frequencies of your desired realities. You've discovered that the universe isn't something that happens to you, but something you participate with as a co-creative partner. Welcome to your quantum mastery. The void has prepared you well, and your greatest adventures in conscious reality creation are just beginning to unfold.